a horrendous triple murder, and an aggressive poltergeist. Don't miss a shocking investigation by the psychics. A child's ghost will come to unveil all the mysteries. This is Psychic Investigations, a channel of true investigations. People who call themselves clairvoyants untangle incredible mystical anomalies and solve resonant criminal cases. In this episode, the psychics embark on an investigation into a series of enigmatic demises within a Ukrainian family. First, we received a letter from 34-year-old Serhíy Dehtiaryóv. The man had had a dream of his deceased father, showing him 6 graves, one of which bore a plaque with Serhíy's name. He feared for his life and decided to ask us for help. But when our journalists called Serhíy, his sister Yúlia picked up the phone and told them terrible news. Her brother was dead.
He was young. He never had any health problems. He simply fell while walking, and that was it.
One morning, Serhíy felt unwell on his way to work.
He fell, and his partner, who was with him, raised him to his feet. But then he realized something was very wrong and started calling out. People came running and called an ambulance.
The man was dead a few minutes after. His heart stopped abruptly. His family can't understand how it was possible. Several days before his death, Serhíy had undergone a comprehensive medical examination because he'd been terrified by the nightmares about his death. The checkup revealed no indications that could pose a threat to his well-being. And now, Yúlia is having the same nightmares that Serhíy had before he died.
I saw the 6 graves. I ran around the cemetery from one grave to another, and I had a panic attack.
In her nightmare, Serhíy was digging another grave next to his, and Yúlia saw her own name on the tombstone.
He was standing and digging it, and I said, "Serhíy, what are you doing?" And he said, "Follow me."
Yúlia Dehtiaryóva is 32. She works at a grocery store, and she's raising her 7-year-old daughter, Alexandra, all by herself. The girl's father abandoned them long ago and doesn't care about his daughter. So if something happens to Yúlia, there'll be nobody to care for the girl. And this is her greatest fear as a mother.
2 days ago, my daughter asked me, "Mom, what if you die?" She was sitting and crying.
The psychics are the woman's only hope. Our strongest clairvoyants, Kayal Alekperov and Rubina Tsibulska, agreed to help her.
I saw a room with fair walls, and in it, there were chairs arranged in a circle, and a boy was standing in the middle of the circle. He was pointing at the chairs and saying, "The one who sits down last will die."
My sacred book is speaking some riddles. The angel became the demon. When you find the grave, dig deeper. What could it mean?
Hello.
Hello.
I fear for my and my daughter's lives.
Did your brother live here?
Yes. He was my elder brother.
I feel that your brother's death wasn't an accident.
I felt your father. He felt cold and and the heart stopped, like he froze to death.
My father died walking home from work. He was found in a windbreak. He looked like he had frozen under a tree. I don't feel well.
Even though her father died many years ago, Yúlia still finds it hard to speak of it. Her father, Ivan, was only 45. But to this day, Yúlia can't understand how it happened. The temperatures in October weren't freezing, and her father was a healthy man in his prime.
Did you all live here? Rubina, I have a strong feeling this house is radiating negative energy. Have you ever found something strange on its grounds?
Yes, once.
Wait. Your father's spirit is pointing at this spot on the wall. Was there a door here? Was the thing you found hidden here?
Yes, there used to be a door here, and above the door there was a little wreath. It was made of flowers, but it had threads and needles inside.
I feel a tragedy occurred after it. You lost somebody else.
You lost a child.
And not one, but 2 children. They looked alike. Were they twins?
Yes, I lost them both.
You see your family in your dreams. They're trying to warn you about something, but I can't tell what it is.
Yúlia, I'd like to go inside.
Yes, yes.
The clairvoyant tunes into the energy of the house. Meanwhile, Kayal Alekperov continues working outside.
My book says you didn't find all the charms. There's a source of powerful negative energy nearby. It's somewhere here. Can you bring me a chair and a knife? It's dangerous to hold it with your bare hands. Look!
My God, what is this? A needle? I see a needle.
There are 3 of them.
What does it mean?
3 needles stand for 3 deaths. This is why your children died. And you could die too. This charm was planted on you to end your family life, but it's directed at you specifically, not your family. Can you please give me your hand? I see 2 women. They hide something in that wall and then run away quickly. They envied you for some reason. We must neutralize this negative energy as soon as possible.
Laughter. Laughter.
While I was carrying out the ritual, I had a feeling that something bad was happening to Rubina. It was like some supernatural force was influencing her. My colleague needed help, but I couldn't interrupt the ritual.
Coincidence or not, no sooner had the psychic finished the ritual to neutralize the charm than the clouds parted and the sun shone.
Kayal, I don't feel well.
What is this?
Like God.
What happened? Tell me.
First, I heard a child's laughter in this room. But when I approached the mirror, I heard sorrowful weeping. A child of 2 or 3 was crying bitterly, asking for help.
Yúlia is indeed in grave danger. The answer is where the triangle of death is. It's a place where the mother died.
Yulia's mother's name was Natalia. After her husband died, she took her children and moved to a town. When Serhíy and Yúlia grew up, they returned to the village and settled at their father's house. However, their mother stayed in the town.
Mom lived there during her final years.
We must go there.
But what death triangle does Kayal Alekperov see? And what does it have to do with Yúlia and the deaths in her family? By the time the psychics arrive at the house of Yulia's mother, it's grown dark. The news of the psychic's arrival quickly spread among the locals. People who knew and loved Natalia gather around her yard.
The energy is so overwhelming.
Three people were murdered here. I feel 2 of them are your bloodline, unlike the third one.
Yes, I was here. They were all found in this room.
I see a large pool of blood here. It's huge.
This is where the triangle of death my book mention was. The triangle was made of your relatives' bodies.
Mom was lying here and the girl was a little further away, while my brother was here.
It's so awful. The people were drowning in blood.
Yes, I saw it all.
The tragic murder caused a stir throughout the nation. Yulia's mother, her younger brother, Alexander, who was 17, and his girlfriend, Dasha, were murdered in this house. The tragedy happened in the evening when the family was at home.
Natalia was on the bed. The shot hit her arm, and he murdered the children in the room.
While the murderer was reloading his rifle, the woman crawled up to the children, but unfortunately, she was too late to save them. The maniac shot his shotgun 9 times and escaped. The neighbor found the bodies the next morning and called the police.
When I broke down the door and saw it, my hair crawled on my head. Natalia was lying there and her arm looked like it had been chopped with an axe. And her son was opposite her, and he had this huge hole in his chest. It was a terrifying picture.
I feel your brother holding the girl by the hand.
She seems to be his fiancée.
They were buried as an engaged couple.
They loved each other a lot.
It was the first love for both, and it was very sincere.
They could have been saved.
Before he was shot to death, my brother called an ambulance and said they were wounded.
This is the recording of the wounded boy's call to the hospital. These are Yulia's brother's last words.
Hello, emergency medical service.
We're wounded.
What kind of the wound?
A gun wound. 37 First Vinohradna Street.
Wait a minute.
Please call the police.
Just a moment. Wait, please. The address again? First.
Alexander died a few minutes later. The phone operator who accepted the call is said to have resigned, unable to bear the shock. She simply couldn't go on working there.
I feel you. Two were supposed to be here.
I can't. It's actually true. I was sent on vacation.
Yúlia was saved by a lucky coincidence. Back then, she lived in this house with her mother and brother, but just before the tragedy, she was sent on an unscheduled vacation, and so she took her daughter and went to the village.
The man who lived here murdered them.
The man lived with Natalia, and their relationship went sour. The victim told him he was a parasite in her family, and he got mad.
Yulia's mother had lived with her murderer for 8 years. Together, they were building a new house, and when Natalia was diagnosed with breast cancer, the man helped her beat it. On the surface, they gave the impression of a perfect family. Nobody knows what exactly happened to date. There was no alcohol in the murderer's blood. Nobody can understand what made him commit the awful crime.
A demon took possession of him.
I feel the murderer is in prison.
The man hid in his hometown for several days after the murder. When he was arrested, he explained that he'd done it because he'd felt humiliated.
I don't remember who exactly and how many times I shot. When I came to my senses, I saw the 3 bodies.
This is the reenactment of the murder. The cold-blooded murderer is crying.
Now I realize it, but then I didn't. I felt like in a fog. I didn't realize what I was doing. My brain wasn't working.
His guilt was proven, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
But it didn't make Yúlia feel any better. She lost all of her family, and now she's in danger herself.
Do you hear it? What is this? What is this?
A woman's spirit. This is your mother. She's holding a little boy in her arms, and he's holding a toy.
Kayal, this is the boy who played with me, showing me the chairs and saying, "The last one to sit down will die."
This boy was the angel who turned into the demon that took possession of the man. For some reason, he's avenging your family. But for what?
The cards are showing me how the boy died. He fell from a windowsill. His head cracked. Your mother felt guilty, but she held this secret to herself.
The only person who knew about it was your mother's friend.
Our journalists found the woman. Her name is Taisia. She kept her friend's secret for many years.
Oleksiy, Natalia's second son, died. It was before Yúlia was born. He fell from the windowsill and hit his head on the radiator. There was a dislocation in his skull.
Yúlia has never heard of this tragedy. Her parents didn't want to traumatize the other children, and so they never told them of the little Oleksiy's death.
We must find out why this little angel, your brother, turned into the demon, and why he's seeking revenge on your family.
What happened?
I heard someone knock on the window pane, and it cracked. But it seems intact.
He's giving us a sign.
Does the child want us to go somewhere? Do you remember the cue from my book? When you find the grave, dig deeper. We must find his grave fast.
I don't even know where it could be.
We must find it, or else the deaths won't stop.
The most interesting thing is that nobody knows where his grave is. Nobody ever visited the boy's grave at all.
The village has two cemeteries. One is old and the other is new. The latter appeared 10 years ago, so the psychics head for the old one.
Rubina, we must split and find the boy's grave. It's not it. Nor is this one.
Checking almost the entire cemetery took the psychics and crew a few hours. However, they failed to find where Yúlia's little brother is buried.
I have a feeling of something calling me that way. This is your brother's spirit. Hurry up. That's it. The spirit has hidden.
Is he gone? We have to search.
He's a child, so he's playing with us. But I see him sitting on that grave.
Who is this?
Who is this man?
The boy's spirit says, I was buried here.
When I read the plaque on the tombstone, I couldn't understand anything. What did that adult man have to do with the little boy?
Rubina, do you remember my book told me to dig deeper when we find the grave? Your little brother's spirit is crying, saying it used to be his grave, but you didn't visit him, and you forgot him. And eventually, his grave was unearthed, and this man was buried in it.
If a grave has been neglected for, say, 20 years, and its wooden cross got rotten, but the plot remains, and they can bury someone else on top.
Your little brother's bones were ground with something made of steel, like a spade. And while they were doing it, his soul was suffering terribly. He hurt badly. This is when the angel became the demon.
And his anger hit Yúlia's family like a landslide. He started taking revenge after that. And your father was taken away first.
Yes.
The following year.
The child's spirit is telling me he also had his revenge on the man who ground his bones with the spade.
He was hit by a car. I've worked here for 2 years, but it was before I came here. He told me he found the skull and crushed the bones.
What do I do?
You must never forget your brother.
Pray for him. Thus, your brother's soul will find peace, and he'll stop taking revenge. And we should also carry out the ritual.
To block the way and calm down his soul.
But the ritual isn't carried out at a cemetery. Let's go.
While the clairvoyants were searching for Yúlia's brother's grave, people gathered in front of the cemetery gate.
Yúlia, hold it.
We've prayed for you. Nothing's going to bother your family anymore.
Thank you so much. It was like a load off my shoulders. I couldn't even imagine I had a brother born before me, that he died so tragically, and above all, that he could do harm to my family, taking them away one by one.
If this investigation impressed you, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Many more unbelievable episodes are coming up.